My beloved child, I need your eyes right here. Right now, this isn't a casual moment. This is a divine interruption designed to awaken something you didn't know was asleep inside you. There are things about to shift, and I can't allow you to miss the signal. While the world screams for your attention, I whisper, not because my message is weak, but because I want intimacy with your spirit, not noise for your ears. Look at me. Focus. This moment is not about your feelings. It's about your future. Your name is being mentioned in places you've never been. Decisions are being made in heavenly courts regarding your next steps, and while you were wondering if I was silent, I was preparing to speak clearly. My voice isn't lost, it's just that the distractions around you have turned up their volume, and now I need you to silence them and lean in. I am the same yesterday, today, and forever, but what I'm doing today is something you've never seen before. And if your eyes are anywhere else, you'll miss the announcement that is being made over your destiny. This is not the hour for casual glances. This is the hour for locked gaze. I'm pulling you away from the noise not to punish you, but to position you. The urgency is not because I'm panicking, it's because timing matters. Every second your focus drifts, you delay what's trying to reach you. I'm standing before you, and I will not beg for your attention, I will command it, because I know what's at stake if you turn away. Don't treat this like just another word, this is the instruction that shifts atmospheres. This is the moment that angels have been waiting for, that prayers have been fueling, that heaven has synchronized with your timeline. Every distraction that suddenly intensified is confirmation that the enemy is afraid of what you'll do if you actually see what I'm trying to show you. You weren't meant to keep scrolling when eternity just leaned into your room. You were meant to pause because this moment is layered with supernatural direction. Look around you, nothing is the same, because you're not the same, and I can't let you walk into your next with the same awareness you had yesterday. Open your eyes in the spirit, I'm not hiding, I'm revealing. What I'm about to show you doesn't come through signs alone. It comes through surrender. You must let go of the illusion that nothing is changing. I am moving now, and I chose this exact minute to call you out of the fog and into clarity. I've seen the confusion. I've heard the questions. But what I'm doing next will not come with warnings, it comes with now moments. If you miss this now, you will still be loved, but you might delay the breakthrough that was tied to this moment's obedience. So I say again, don't look away. Not now. Not when I'm reaching through everything that tried to hold you back and saying, see me. There is a fire returning to your spirit, but you must give me your full attention. Not half, not in pieces. All of you. I'm not sharing this moment with your fear, with your phone, with your plans. I am separating this moment from the rest of your life because it is that important. Yes, this message is only the beginning of what I'll be revealing, but without your yes right now, the next step cannot unlock. This is not about being good enough, it's about being still enough. Be still, not to be silent, but to be aligned. I am removing what blurred your view. I am speaking so clearly that your spirit will tremble. Now look again. This time with faith. This time with hunger. This time knowing that your Savior is not waiting for a better version of you. I'm talking to you in this very second because you're the one I chose to see what I'm doing next. There is motion unfolding in dimensions your physical eyes cannot comprehend, yet your soul has already begun to stir because it knows something sacred is underway, uniquely prepared for you. You sense that restlessness not because something's wrong, but because something unseen is being drawn toward you like a tide responding to my command. Even though your natural environment hasn't changed, the air around your spirit is different because I have set things in motion in the unseen that will soon materialize before you. I didn't ask your circumstances for permission to move. I didn't wait for approval from people who couldn't perceive your worth. I bypassed every delay and obstruction to begin releasing what's been hidden behind spiritual curtains. Not because you begged, not because you performed, but because I chose this exact season to surprise your expectation. What I'm setting in place is not random, it's calculated, custom designed, and encoded with your identity. Even while you've been feeling overlooked, I've been orchestrating alignments that will leave no doubt that I was involved. You may have wondered why certain paths were blocked, but I blocked them so you would not settle for what was beneath the standard of my calling on your life. You may have been aching for closure in areas where I needed to keep doors sealed so I could open new ones without resistance. Every moment you thought was a pause was really me preserving the purity of what I was cultivating in secret. You have not been still. You have been safeguarded. You have not been ignored. You've been insulated. Now I'm about to pull back the veil, not with noise, but with evidence. The movement I've initiated will not arrive with warning sirens. It will unfold like a sunrise, quiet but impossible to stop. I've released instructions to vessels you don't even know yet, and they are already on their way toward your life, carrying provision, opportunity, restoration, and answers. It's not your job to see how. It's your responsibility to remain sensitive to when. This moment isn't about effort, it's about alignment. That flutter in your chest is not fear, it's divine recognition. Your inner man waking up to the reality that I'm near and active. I've seen your quiet endurance. I've watched the way you stayed when you could have walked. I've heard the internal conversations where you tried to make peace with disappointment. But I didn't let those disappointments define you, and now I won't let them distract you. There's a pattern breaking even now as I speak, a cycle that tried to convince you that nothing good lasts. But watch what I do next. What's forming behind the surface is not fragile. It's fortified. It's been tested in silence, purified in delay, and confirmed by my word. Your responsibility isn't to chase it, it's to recognize it. Because when it arrives, it will look different than what you imagined. And you must be ready to embrace without comparing it to the past. I will not repeat the way I've moved before, because what I'm doing now is a new model entirely. This is not a recycled blessing, it is a fresh manifestation tailored to the journey you survived. This movement is not about being seen by others, it's about you seeing yourself through my eyes at last. You are not being overlooked anymore, you are being revealed. And everything I've placed behind the scenes is rising into visibility in a way that no man can claim credit for. My glory will surround it. My timing will protect it. And your name will be written into a testimony that reminds generations of what I can do when someone chooses to trust me even in the dark. So lean closer. Let your ears be open. Let your posture be ready. Because while others are chasing noise, I'm moving in stillness, and you, beloved, are the one I'm targeting with what's about to surface from the unseen into undeniable reality. There's been a stirring within you that no one else has noticed, not loud enough to describe with words, but persistent enough that you couldn't ignore it. A sacred pressure, a holy tension rising inside you, hinting that something larger than your comprehension has started moving, and even though you haven't seen the pieces come together, your spirit already knows that the atmosphere around you has been charged with divine purpose. The tension in your chest, the moments where you suddenly feel tears with no cause, the restless nights where sleep escapes you even though you're exhausted, those are not random symptoms. They are signals. You're catching fragments of a divine current passing through your life, trying to alert you to the fact that you're approaching a critical juncture, one where my hand will intervene in a way that changes the direction of everything familiar. You've asked me for confirmation, but what you've been experiencing is greater than confirmation, it's preparation. When you walk into an environment charged with electricity, you don't need to see the current to feel its effect on your skin. That's what you're experiencing spiritually now. The shift I've initiated doesn't announce itself with volume. It reveals itself in the subtleties of your perception, your heightened awareness, your quickened heart, your sensitivity to what's normally ordinary. That's me. And I need you to stop second-guessing what you feel. This isn't anxiety. This is alignment. I've awakened a knowing inside of you because your external circumstances are about to be overtaken by internal truth. What's coming will require spiritual sensitivity, and that's why I've been fine-tuning your discernment through these unexplainable nudges. The urge to pray without understanding why, the sudden resistance to places and people that used to feel comfortable, the moments of extreme clarity followed by moments of deep silence, all of these are signs of the spiritual blueprint being written over your life right now. You are no longer allowed to live unaware. I've chosen you to carry something forward that demands attentiveness. This isn't just for you, it's for the lives that will be transformed because you obeyed even when you didn't understand. That shift you've been sensing is me drafting a new rhythm in your soul, breaking patterns you didn't even know were keeping you bound. The reason you feel out of place lately is because I've been relocating your spirit ahead of your body, so when you step into the physical manifestation of what's coming, it won't feel foreign. The terrain may be new, but your soul will remember it because I've already introduced it to you in dreams, in prayer, in whispers. Stop dismissing what you feel because it doesn't make sense to others. They didn't hear what I told you in the midnight hours. They weren't present when you cried out for change behind closed doors. I've honored those tears. I've recorded everyone. And now, this sensation you feel is not imagination, it's the signal that those cries have activated a response in heaven. What you feel rising isn't just hope, it's divine instruction trying to take shape in your actions. This shift cannot be navigated through logic, it must be led by intimacy with me. Keep leaning in. The more you trust what I've placed inside you, the less you will rely on what's around you. That awareness is not a burden, it's a map. A supernatural GPS rerouting you from paths that lead to exhaustion and detouring you into divine outcomes that only obedience can unlock. I am not teasing you with glimpses. I am ushering you into manifestation. The tremble you feel is not fear, it's heaven opening. Don't silence it. Don't numb it. Don't push it aside because it feels unfamiliar. Let that awareness guide your steps, because everything I've placed in motion is depending on you noticing the pull. I have marked this moment, and the shift inside you is evidence that I am closer than your next breath, already preparing what will soon change everything you thought was permanent. You may not have noticed it at first, but I've been weaving clues throughout your day, subtle indicators, gentle taps on the door of your awareness, flickers of insight during moments of quiet that you didn't realize were me reaching through the noise to deliver something eternal. I whispered through situations you called coincidence. I arranged alignments you thought were random. I sent encouragement through voices you didn't expect, placed signs in your path you assumed were ordinary, and even allowed interruptions in your schedule that redirected your steps into divine intersections. Each moment held my signature, though I concealed it just enough to test your sensitivity, to see if your heart would catch what your eyes couldn't fully explain. And though you missed a few, I counted every time your soul paused in wonder, every time you hesitated because something deeper was tugging at you. You see, I never stopped speaking, I was simply inviting you to listen more closely. The reason you're hearing me louder now is not because I just started talking, it's because you've become quieter inside, more aware, more ready to hear what you once overlooked. And now that your posture is shifting and your inner ears are tuning to the sound of heaven, I am no longer whispering, I'm declaring. This is the moment I break the silence with unmistakable precision. My instructions will not be vague. My direction will not be hidden. You won't need to wonder whether it's me, because what I release now will resonate like thunder wrapped in peace. I'm addressing you directly, not through metaphor or symbols, but with boldness, because you've matured through the waiting. You've passed through storms and valleys, and those very trials have sharpened your spiritual hearing. The voice that once sounded distant now fills the entire room because you've made room for it. I do not shout to compete, I reveal to those who are willing to notice. And you, beloved, have been noticing more than you give yourself credit for. You've been responding to my leading even when you weren't sure, and that faith, even in small steps, has moved the heavens on your behalf. I didn't require you to understand it all, I only needed your willingness to follow. And because you've yielded in small things, I'm releasing greater clarity for what's ahead. This is not the season of obscurity. This is the hour of unveiled direction. Don't expect me to sound like I did before. My tone is shifting because your mission is unfolding. You don't need confirmations like you once did, because now you will carry conviction. The nudge you once questioned will now feel like a divine surge, and you'll act not because you're unsure, but because you know that hesitation could cost alignment. I am handing you assignments that require swift obedience, not rushed, but responsive. I'm bringing relationships, opportunities, movements into your hands, and they won't come with long explanations. They will come with a peace so undeniable that it quiets the fear before it forms. I've been preparing your heart for this level of closeness where we walk not with gaps of silence, but with continuous interaction. This is the era of clarity, where my words fill the gaps your questions once lived in, where my presence floods the areas that once felt hollow. You've been asking me to show you what's next, and now I am showing you yourself through my eyes. What I say about you is about to drown out every lie you believed from the past. My voice is reclaiming territory in your mind, and as I speak, chains are dissolving, not just breaking, because they will have no remnants in this new chapter. So listen carefully. No more second guessing. No more asking for signs when I've already surrounded you with them. From this point on, my voice will not sound like a suggestion, it will come like a command wrapped in love, and when you follow it, mountains will move not only around you but within you. I'm not just showing you things, I'm showing you through my revelation, and what I reveal now will not be hidden again. There are no random moments in my kingdom. Every breath, every scroll, every click, every delay has been woven into a thread of divine precision, and this very moment has been appointed for you long before you realize you'd be here. You didn't stumble onto these words by chance, and you didn't arrive at this intersection out of routine. I brought you here deliberately because the hour has come for a deeper unveiling, and I chose to interrupt your pattern to deliver a personal confirmation you didn't even know your heart had been craving. Heaven has an agenda that cannot be sabotaged by your surroundings, and this is one of those rare moments where eternity crosses into your ordinary timeline to press something urgent into your spirit. I have seen you wondering when it would be your time, asking quietly if I had overlooked you while others moved forward. I haven't missed a single detail, and today I disrupt that inner silence with a holy truth. This moment is written into your story as a marker of divine collision. I planned this engagement not to excite you with emotions, but to root you in purpose. While others scrolled past, your spirit was commanded to pause, not because of human words, but because your soul recognizes the sound of the one who formed it. That sense of weight you're feeling right now is not heaviness, it's glory settling on your shoulders. This divine encounter isn't casual, it's calibrated. I handpicked this instant as a doorway to greater vision, and every distraction that tried to keep you from this space was warfare against what you're unlocking right now by simply staying present. What comes next depends on your posture in this hour. You're not just reading, you're receiving. These aren't lines of text. These are lifelines from your Father who refuses to let you keep living beneath what I designed you for. The ache that's been hiding beneath your strength is being met by my presence as I speak directly to it, not with pity but with restoration. You didn't even realize how much you needed me to show up in this way today, but I did. That's why I orchestrated this moment, not when you felt ready, not when you felt holy, not when you had everything in order, but now, when your soul was open enough to hear me without filter. I don't work according to your calendar, I move according to your surrender. And the reason this message is gripping you so personally is because it was crafted for the exact condition of your heart right now. Not yesterday, not a year ago, not a future version of you. This word is for the you who's reading with quiet hope and cautious belief, the you who's been showing up even when it's hard, the you who had been faithful with little and is now being trusted with much. You didn't ask to be pulled into this divine meeting, but your obedience summoned it. I honor that. I've drawn near to you not with judgment but with revelation. I've waited for this window of undivided focus because what I am releasing into you requires clarity, not confusion. You don't need more signs, you need to recognize that you are the sign. The fact that you're alive right now, reading this word, feeling your heart pound, sensing something deeper pulling at you, that is the evidence that something sacred is being ignited. Don't try to analyze it. Don't brush it off. Receive it. I am not asking for your perfection, I am showing you my pursuit. While you thought I was distant, I was preparing this divine encounter as proof that I never stopped watching over your journey. Now it's your turn to respond, not with panic, but with attention. You're standing on sacred ground, and nothing that tried to delay you can stop what I've appointed for this hour. You are the one I've chosen to meet here. Right now. On purpose. So much has tried to pull you away from this exact encounter. Unnecessary worries, overwhelming tasks, inner voices questioning your worth, situations that drained you before the day even began. But you made it here, and that alone terrifies darkness. You see, the enemy didn't fear your talent or your strength. He feared your focus. He knew if you ever reached the place where you could hear me this clearly, something irreversible would begin to shift in your life. The distractions weren't random. They were targeted. You were never under attack because you were weak, but because you were about to become dangerous to every lie that tried to define you. There has been a war around your attention because where your gaze rests, your transformation follows. He tried to tangle you in noise, drown you in busyness, exhaust your emotions so completely that you'd collapse before reaching this divine alignment. But you didn't quit. Even when confusion clouded your vision, and you couldn't tell what was up ahead, you kept stepping forward. And now here you are, fully present in this holy interruption, your spirit alert, your heart open, and your hunger undeniable. This moment is proof that the enemy failed, because he couldn't keep you deaf to the sound of my voice calling you deeper. I've watched him try to infiltrate your days with doubt, disguise anxiety as logic, flood your schedule with chaos just to leave no room for stillness. He baited you with distractions hoping you'd settle for surface-level satisfaction. But every tactic fell short because my calling on your life is louder than confusion, and the anointing I placed on your spirit cannot be silenced by circumstance. You were born to hear me, not through fear, not through pressure, but through closeness. And no scheme, no voice, no fear has the power to override what I am saying in this sacred conversation. I need you to realize this. Your presence here is a spiritual victory. You've overcome more than you know just to be seated in this moment of revelation. There were hours you felt disoriented, seasons you wanted to escape, mind battles you didn't even know how to explain to others. But you kept showing up. And now I'm showing you why that mattered. Every moment you resisted giving up was a declaration that my word still carried more weight than your weariness. The enemy underestimated the resilience of someone I handpicked. He thought if he created enough noise, you'd forget how to listen. But all he did was drive you deeper into your need for me. He forgot that hunger grows in silence. He didn't expect your desperation to turn into discernment. He thought the delay would cause you to walk away, but instead, it refined your capacity to hear me with clarity. That's why you feel this weight now, not as a burden but as a mantle. You didn't miss your moment. You didn't lose the window. You're not late. You're right on time, and that reality unravels every lie that's been whispered into your spirit in the shadows. I'm revealing this now because you need to see that even when you thought you were aimless, you were actually being protected from distractions that could have stolen your awareness permanently. My spirit was shielding your steps while shaping your capacity to remain sensitive. You were being panicked, you were being positioned. And now, I am amplifying what I've been saying all along, because your ears are tuned, your eyes are cleansed, and your heart is postured. The plans set against you have collapsed under the weight of your persistence. The enemy tried to bury you beneath discouragement, but you bloomed in soil he meant to suffocate you. And now, I'm marking you with vision that will intimidate the darkness you once feared. You've arrived at the place where my presence becomes louder than the distractions. Stay here. Don't leave this moment too quickly. What I'm releasing next is directly connected to the clarity you fought so hard to receive, and nothing can stop what's about to unfold from this space of divine attention. You've been interpreting the waiting seasons as disqualification, assuming that slow progress meant lost potential, that missed opportunities meant permanent exclusion. But I need you to hear me clearly. Nothing I've spoken over you has expired. Delay is not my rejection. It's often my method of refinement. Your journey has not been derailed. It's been detoured for protection, for growth, for revelation you didn't even know you needed. I've never been in a rush with you, but I've always been precise. While you've been grieving the time you think you lost, I've been guarding the space where the promise will be fulfilled. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not forgotten. But understand this. The moment to act has arrived, and it requires more than belief. It demands movement. What I have prepared will not wait indefinitely for indecision to catch up. Heaven is aligned. Resources are in place. The season has changed. And now, the urgency is not about fear, it's about alignment. There are doors that will respond to you now in a way they never would have before. There are keys in your possession that match locks only accessible in this hour. If you hesitate, you will not be punished, but you may postpone the unlocking of things that were always yours. The urgency is a gift, not a threat. It's an invitation into fullness. I'm speaking this way because you've reached a threshold, and on the other side of it is the manifestation of things you've only glimpsed in glimpses and dreams. If you remain stuck in contemplation, afraid to move because you don't feel fully ready, you'll find yourself watching windows close that were once wide open. But if you respond, quickly, fully, courageously, you will watch the supernatural collide with the natural in ways that shake you to your core. Here's an opening, child, and it's not staying open forever. It's been created for this moment, for your feet to step forward, for your voice to echo with resolve, for your hands to begin building what I've whispered into your spirit for so long. You've asked for confirmation. This is it. You've requested timing. It is now. You've wondered if you missed it. You did. But what you do in the next stretch of days will determine how fast you step into what I'm unfolding. My grace covers delays, but my glory moves with readiness. You don't need to be perfect to move. You only need to be positioned. There will always be unknowns, but they shrink in the light of obedience. Your surrender will clear the path faster than your planning ever could. I'm not asking for frantic action, I'm asking for bold trust. I know you've been burned before, tricked by things that appeared promising but collapsed in your hands. But what I'm calling you into now carries my fingerprint, and you will recognize it not by how it flatters your emotions but by how it ignites your discernment. This will not feel like the last time. The terrain may be unfamiliar, but your spirit is prepared. I wouldn't push you into this moment unless I had already gone before you to ensure the ground was ready. It's been tilled by your prayers, watered by your tears, and lit by my presence. The seeds I planted long ago are surfacing, and now it's time to act like you believe harvest is real. Don't shrink back. Don't overthink. Don't analyze your qualifications. If I've called you, I'll carry you. If I've equipped you, I'll defend you. What I require from you is a response that reflects trust, not in your ability, but in my character. You don't have to feel confident. You only need to stay close. The next step will become clear once your foot is lifted in faith. This is not about speed. It's about direction. So walk. Speak. Release. Will. Right. Woo. The time is now, and your obedience will unlock what your delay never canceled. Nothing I've ever declared over your life has been withdrawn. Every word I spoke into your spirit, every dream I breathed into your heart, every glimpse of the future I let you see when you were barely holding on, it all remains untouched, unrevoked, unshaken by what has come against you. My promises are not like fragile agreements that fade with time. They are sealed in the permanence of my will, rooted in truth that doesn't decay under pressure. But child, listen carefully. You can't afford to approach this season with scattered focus. The table I've set before you is full, not just with blessing but with instructions, revelations, divine insight, and supernatural strategy, and I cannot pour those into a distracted vessel. There is a weight on this moment that requires your undivided gaze. You've tried to multitask obedience, one eye on me, the other on what's comfortable. But the door you're walking through now will not permit divided attention. I'm not withholding anything from you. I'm guarding what's holy until you're ready to fully engage with it. What's on the table cannot be taken by force, nor is it up for debate. It waits for your attention like rain waits for soil. It's ready to soak in, but it cannot settle on stone. I've seen how you've been pulled in every direction, voices competing for space in your thoughts, distractions disguised as responsibilities, emotional fatigue that's made stillness feel almost impossible. I'm not angry about your weariness. I'm not scolding you for feeling overwhelmed. But I am calling you out of that fog and into sacred clarity, because what I'm unfolding cannot be experienced through passive glances or occasional moments of awareness. It requires full presence. Heaven isn't waiting for you to be perfect. It's waiting for you to be available. If you knew what was attached to your focused surrender, you would drop every lesser thing to make room. If you saw the magnitude of what I'm preparing to release through your obedience, you'd understand why the distractions increased when they did. It's not that you're doing something wrong. It's that you're standing at the edge of something right. And the enemy knows that a focused you is as dangerous as you. That's why everything around you has been louder lately. That's why old habits tried to creep back in. That's why your mind felt flooded with chaos when your heart was just starting to quiet down. But that was never me. I've only ever called you toward stillness, not confusion. I'm not hard to hear. I'm just often heard best in the quiet. And I'm not asking for hours of religious effort. I'm inviting you into minutes of true awareness, moments where you stop everything and simply sit with me, ask me what I'm saying, and actually wait to hear it. The fullness you long for is found there, not in doing more, but in noticing more. I don't need louder prayers. I need deeper attention. Because what's on the table includes answers you've cried out for, healing you didn't know was available yet, connections you didn't even realize you were missing, and insight that will make the next season not just possible but purposeful. But I will not force it into a hurried soul. I require space, not because I'm demanding, but because I'm holy. And your spirit knows this. You felt it tugging. You've known when it was time to pause and lean in. But now I'm confirming it. You must slow down to speed up. You must disconnect from the noise that's diluted your discernment. You must turn your face fully toward mine, because when you do, what's been waiting will begin to unfold without resistance. I won't make you chase what's already yours, but I will wait until your focus reflects your hunger. Every promise is still here, but I can only deliver what you're willing to receive with both hands and an open heart. You don't even realize how close the pressure came to splitting something wide open around you. Relationships fracturing under misunderstanding, finances collapsing under unseen strain, decisions snowballing into consequences that could have taken years to recover from. But I stepped in and halted it. Not because you had the perfect plan, not because you prayed the longest prayer, but because you did something most people overlook. You slowed down when I nudged you. You didn't keep pushing forward when your spirit whispered wait. You let yourself be pulled into awareness even when the urgency around you tried to demand your next step. The pause may have felt like hesitation to you, but in heaven, it registered as trust. And that trust gave me the space to intervene, to reposition what was on the verge of spiraling. You have no idea what I prevented while you were simply being still. You thought the silence meant nothing was happening, but the truth is that stillness was the shield. That moment where you felt unsure and chose to seek me instead of rushing forward, it created a covering over your situation. You didn't realize it, but that one act of obedience routed outcomes. You've been wondering why some things didn't collapse even though they looked weak, why certain doors didn't close when you expected them to, why the chaos that was circling never actually touched you. It's because I stepped between you and the breaking point. I silenced what was screaming for your downfall. I froze the impact that was meant to damage you beyond recognition. I held it back, not because you demanded it, but because you gave me room. That's the kind of authority your surrender carries. You think you're just being quiet, but in the unseen realm, your quietness becomes a command that shifts entire atmospheres. The war you didn't even know was happening was already tilting in your favor the moment you made space to hear me. Your pause was your weapon. And now, because you listened, because you paid attention, I've recalibrated the environment around you. You were being hunted by situations that didn't belong in your destiny, but your awareness caused them to lose their grip. You didn't even have to fight. You just had to perceive. That's how powerful divine alignment is. That's how quickly things turn when you obey my timing over your impulse. I don't need dramatic effort. I need responsive hearts. You gave me that. And because of it, I've preserved more than you know. Some of the things I've protected you from were dressed as opportunities. They looked good. They sounded right. But they carried weight you weren't called to hold. Had you jumped ahead, you would have taken on burdens that weren't assigned to you. But now, I'm clearing the field. I'm removing what was never part of your mission. And I'm doing it gently because you trusted me without needing all the details. Don't underestimate what I do in the pause. Some of your greatest deliverances will look like earthquakes. They'll look like peace. They'll feel like sudden clarity. They'll come through the absence of disaster, and you'll only realize later just how much was stopped before it reached you. That's what I'm doing now. I'm drawing a line around your steps and making sure nothing outside of my will gets through. You are not being delayed. You are being preserved. I had to hold certain things back until your discernment caught up with your desire. And now that it has, I will begin releasing what's truly meant for you. Not rushed, not forced, but right. This is what happens when you choose listening over striving. This is what happens when you value my timing more than your urgency. I reward stillness with strategy. I cover those who yield. So don't rush out of this space. Stay sensitive. Stay close. The thing I've been holding back is about to shift, and it's not going to break you. It's going to build you. Now that I have your full attention, everything pivots on your next decision, not because I'm testing you with threats, but because this is a divine crossroad, and you must not treat it casually. You heard me. You felt my nearness. You've recognized that something deeper is being spoken into your spirit. But this isn't just for comfort. It's a call to respond. I'm placing something weighty into your hands, not heavy to carry, but significant enough to shift the entire course of your days from this point forward. There is no going back to the way things were. You've crossed into awareness, and awareness always demands action. What you do now will either unlock the unfolding of what's been prepared for you, or it will delay it until your heart is fully aligned. Not because I'm punishing you, but because I love you too much to let you step into glory without readiness. You've been waiting for a signal. This is it. You've been praying for an answer. It's arrived. But answers don't create transformation unless they are received and activated. You can't sit with this word like it's just another encouraging message. This isn't inspiration, it's instruction. And what I'm about to release into your life requires clarity, not confusion, movement, not hesitation, full embrace, not partial commitment. The old version of you, the one that second-guessed everything, the one that needed confirmation on every step, the one that lived in the shadow of past failures, cannot walk forward from here. I'm drawing a line in the spirit, and your response will determine whether you step into the reality I'm revealing or retreat into the comfort of familiarity. Yes, the unfamiliar feels risky. Yes, obedience can seem costly. But trust me when I say the cost of disobedience is far greater, not in punishment, but in postponed purpose. I'm not looking for perfection from you. I'm simply requiring honesty. Will you follow me into the unknown even when it doesn't come with full explanations? Will you trust me enough to move, even if all you have is the knowing I've placed in your spirit? Because what's waiting on the other side of this response isn't small. It's been crafted for this precise moment in time, and I will not allow anyone else to carry what I've entrusted to you. This is your appointment. This is your assignment. And what's ahead will not resemble what you've come from. I need your willingness more than your understanding. I need your yes more than your resume. I'm not asking you to qualify yourself. I've already called you. But your agreement activates what I've been holding in place, waiting for this exact moment of divine decision. You're not being asked to leap without guidance. I will walk with you every step. But I cannot make the choice for you. Your agreement is the door that swings wide. Your surrender is the match that lights the next path. You don't need to map out the entire journey. I only need you to take the first step after this moment. You've been circling the same thoughts, standing on the edge, dipping your toe in when I've been asking you to dive. Now I'm saying, move. Speak what I've told you to say. Build what I've whispered in the quiet. Leave what I've already shown you no longer belongs. Choose the path that aligns with my presence, not your preference. The next shift depends on whether you say yes without needing to see every outcome in advance. This is where faith begins to function, where obedience becomes the vessel through which heaven touches earth in your life. What I've planned isn't waiting on better conditions, it's waiting on your response. The promise is alive. The way is open. But only you can decide what you'll do after seeing the truth I just placed in front of you. The pause is over. The time for circling, stalling, and holding your breath has come to an end. You've waited with aching hope, holding your heart in quiet expectation while the world around you seemed to rush ahead. You've endured the whispers of doubt, the tug of discouragement, and the weight of time passing without visible change. You stood in the space between promise and fulfillment, and I've seen every moment where you chose faith over frustration. But now, I'm telling you what I've prepared is no longer in the distance. It's standing in front of you, ready to unfold, but it cannot do so without your participation. This move doesn't happen around you, it happens through you. I've already begun turning the pages of this new chapter, but for the narrative to continue, I need your signature of agreement. I won't force my plan upon you, no matter how beautiful it is. I honor your will, even when it hesitates. But this moment has been appointed, and the heavens are waiting on your yes. Not a hesitant nod, not a partial surrender. A full, bold, intentional yes that tells every opposing force, I choose what God has ordained for me. Because what I'm releasing next won't arrive passively, it will arrive through activated obedience. You've done the waiting. You survived the refining. You've endured what tried to convince you that the waiting was pointless. But now, all of that was merely preparation for a yes that would carry the weight of destiny. This yes isn't about emotion. It's a posture of agreement, a positioning of your life to move in step with what I'm releasing from my throne. It's not a decision made once. It's a commitment you return to daily, a declaration that your life is no longer your own to control. I've waited for this, too. I've been preparing a release that required your heart to be whole enough, quiet enough, and strong enough to handle what's attached to this moment. And you are ready not because you feel qualified, but because I've made you able. Every delay has been working in your favor, crafting endurance, fortifying your discernment, and removing what could not walk into this next season with you. The waiting was not wasted. It was wisdom. But wisdom must lead to movement. And now that I've brought you here, hesitation must bow. I'm not asking for performance. I'm asking for permission to move in your life with power, to shake off the final remnants of fear, to uproot what no longer serves my purpose, and to launch you into places you were created to occupy. What's on the other side of your yes is not just for you. It's for the lives you will impact, the chains you will help break, the generations that will be changed because you chose to agree with heaven instead of shrinking back in uncertainty. I'm not giving you time to prepare anymore, I've already equipped you. I'm not waiting for better conditions, I've already cleared the way. What I'm doing now is not small. It's not temporary. It's foundational. And it begins when you stop questioning whether you're worthy to receive and start responding as someone chosen to carry it. I have not brought you this far to leave the story unfinished. You are standing in front of doors that don't require keys, they require yes. Doors that respond not to striving, but to surrender. Doors that remain locked not because they are broken, but because they are voice-activated, and your yes is the sound that opens them. So say it not only with your mouth, but with your movement. Say yes with your decisions. Say yes with your time. Say yes with your priorities. Say yes with your courage. You waited long enough. Now what I've prepared is waiting for one thing: your agreement to finally step into the very thing you've always known you were made for. You are standing in a divine intersection where uncertainty has no authority to lead you anymore. I know the questions still echo. I know the past tried to make you hesitant, to convince you that risk always ends in disappointment. But child, this isn't the hour to retreat into fear masquerading as caution. This isn't the time to overanalyze what's already been confirmed by my presence. This is the moment to lean in, not halfway, not with reluctance, but with the kind of trust that silences every competing voice in your atmosphere. Doubt has worn too many costumes, calling itself wisdom, disguise itself as discernment, sounding practical on the surface but fueled by the fear of what could go wrong. But hear me, hesitation is not holiness and timidity is not discernment. I've brought you to this moment to teach you that clarity doesn't always precede movement. Sometimes clarity is born in the movement. You've been asking me to show you every detail, but what I'm doing now won't be fully revealed until you begin walking in it. The path won't appear while you wait for perfect peace. It will unfold with every step of faith you choose to take. You've carried seeds long enough. Now the ground beneath you is ready. But seeds don't flourish in the hands of the hesitant. They require being released into soil you may not fully understand. I never called you to understand everything. I called you to follow me. I called you to lean in even when the next chapter is unwritten. I called you to rest your entire weight on the truth of my voice, not the logic of your surroundings. Here are things I will only reveal to the heart that refuses to flinch. There is pavilion reserved for those who walk forward without waiting for applause or approval. I'm not asking you to eliminate every doubt before you move. I'm asking you to silence it by giving your trust more power than your questions. You've asked for confirmation, and I've given it in countless ways, through nudges, through unexpected provision, through words that pierced your spirit at just the right time. But doubt will always pretend there's never enough evidence. Doubt will always whisper, not yet. But I'm speaking louder now, and what I'm saying is, now. This is your signal to lean in, to push past the fog of hesitation, to shake off the weight of what if and press into what is. What is true? That I am with you. That I go before you. That I've already declared the end from the beginning. That I have not called you this far to abandon you. That I have equipped you for everything I've entrusted to you. This moment doesn't require a backup plan. It requires a surrendered heart. You don't need a guarantee of success. You need a decision that my word is more trustworthy than your past experiences. I'm calling you out of shallow waters into the deep, where faith stretches and grows and multiplies. Leaning in means giving me your full attention, your full heart, your full willingness, not waiting until you feel brave but choosing to move even if you still feel trembling in your chest. I'm not disappointed in your uncertainty, but I won't let it lead you. I'm too invested in your purpose to let fear write the next sentence of your story. I've stopped the storm before, but now I want to teach you how to walk on it. And that only happens when you lean in, when you decide that the nearness of my presence outweighs the intimidation of the unknown. This moment holds more than information, it holds impartation. And what I'm giving requires your full reach, your full yes, your full faith. Don't hold back. Lean in, because what I'm unveiling is too powerful to be received passively. Your leaning is the language of readiness, and I am responding to it with more than words. I am responding with the next move. There was a moment when the weight felt unbearable, when your heart whispered what your mouth was too afraid to say aloud. I don't know how much longer I can do this. I was there, not watching from a distance, not standing in judgment, but sitting with you in that heaviness, feeling the tremble in your soul, the tears you wiped before anyone could see, the quiet ache of holding everything together while inside you felt like you were breaking. You were closer to quitting than you ever admitted, not because you lacked faith, but because the fight had been so long, so unseen, so lonely. And in that space, where strength seemed to disappear and silence felt louder than ever, I surrounded you. My arms weren't crossed, they were cradling you. I didn't back away when your thoughts spiraled into questions. I leaned in. You weren't abandoned when you wondered if anything was working. You were carried. I watched you breathe through pain, still showing up when everything in you wanted to vanish. I didn't need you to be strong for me to stay. My love doesn't retreat in your weakness. It rushes in. And when you thought you had nothing left, I became your enough. You may not remember the moment you almost walked away, but I do. And I need you to know this. I chose to keep holding you. Not because you earned it. Not because you performed perfectly. But because I love you without conditions. I never stopped seeing the fire I placed in you. Even when it flickered, I guarded it. Even when hope felt foreign, I stood between you and what tried to extinguish it. At night you laid awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if anything would change. I was right there, closer than the next breath, whispering peace into a soul too tired to hear it. You see, I don't measure your worth by your ability to stay cheerful. I measure it by the truth that you are mine, and no amount of discouragement can separate you from my grip. You came to the edge and didn't realize that I placed my hand underneath your feet, so you didn't fall. You paused. And in that pause, I began rebuilding things you thought had been lost. You assumed your moment of near surrender disqualified you. But what you didn't know was that it activated a deeper level of grace over your life. You've seen mercy, but now, I'm showing you how I restore not only what was broken, but what was nearly abandoned. I took your almost and turned it into always. I took your barely holding on and turned it into fully carried. You thought you failed by feeling weak, but your honesty in that moment was a doorway I walked through. You gave me permission to intervene, not because you had answers, but because you had nothing left. That's where I do my best work. And now, I want you to carry this truth with you, even when you almost let go. I didn't. Even when your grip loosened, mine tightened. Even when you questioned if I was still there, I was surrounding you. You never had to fight to keep me. I've always fought to keep you. And now, I'm bringing you into a season where what once felt like survival will become testimony. The story isn't over. It's about to shift. The heaviness that nearly broke you is lifting. The shadows that tried to define your identity are dissolving. I've rewritten the ending, and it starts with the truth that you stayed. You didn't walk away. You didn't shut me out. You may have slowed down, but you never stopped seeking me. And for that, heaven is responding. Watch what I do with a heart that refused to quit, even when it questioned everything. Watch what I build from what almost broke you. While your eyes still search for signs, while your heart wonders if you've missed something, I need you to understand. You are closer than it feels. The shift is not coming someday. It's already forming around you. Every delay that tried to convince you otherwise, every interruption that whispered you were off course, every obstacle that made you question the point of your pursuit, none of it succeeded in pushing you off the path I designed. You've been walking in alignment even when you didn't realize it. You've been positioned for promise while thinking you were merely enduring another long stretch of silence. But what I've prepared isn't far. It's near, waiting just beyond what your current perspective allows you to see. You've been standing in the hallway, wondering if the door at the end even leads to anything meaningful. But what you haven't noticed is that the hinges have already begun to move. I've been turning the handle in places you thought were locked forever. The reason your spirit feels restless is because your breakthrough is brushing against your reality. And though your hands haven't touched it yet, your soul is already sensing its arrival. The tension you've been feeling lately isn't resistance, it's proximity. You're not late. You're not behind. You're standing right in front of the unfolding. I've been adjusting the timing not to punish you but to prepare everything around you so that nothing is missing when you arrive. I didn't want you to inherit something unready. I didn't want you stepping into an unfinished place. So I slowed the pace, not to frustrate you but to protect you from receiving a promise that couldn't hold the weight of your assignment. If you knew how much had to align behind the scenes, conversations you didn't hear, hearts I had to soften, systems that had to shift, you'd stop calling it a delay and start calling it a setup. I've been moving mountains while you thought nothing was happening. I've been commanding angels while you were just trying to keep breathing. And now, what seemed distant is stepping into view. I've seen your efforts. I've counted every time you pushed through fatigue, stood firm when discouragement tried to swallow you, worshipped through tears, trusted even when your mind argued against it. That was not in vain. Those moments built something in you that no shortcut could replicate. And because you didn't abandon the process, the promise is about to meet you where you are. Not where you used to be. Not where others think you should be. But exactly where you've been faithfully standing, even when it hurt. You didn't realize that your consistency was making room. Every small act of obedience was stretching the space for what's now coming your way. And yes, you may not see the full picture yet, but that's why I gave you the unshakable stirring inside. That's why I've been waking you up in the middle of the night with peace that has no explanation. That's why you felt like something is about to break open, even though everything on the surface looks the same. Because deep calls unto deep, and your spirit knows what your eyes are just about to see. So don't give up now. Don't sit down just before the door opens. Don't retreat when you're only a few steps from the very thing you were created for. I've been ahead of you, preparing it all. And I've been beside you, walking each step. You are on the edge of what you've prayed for. And I promise you, when it comes into view, you'll realize I never left. I was simply getting everything ready for your arrival. What came against you wasn't just inconvenience. It was designed to exhaust your hope before the arrival of what was about to shift everything. The noise wasn't ordinary. The resistance you felt didn't show up randomly. It came with a purpose, to drown out the sound of what I was ushering into your life. The enemy recognized something was nearing, a release, a realignment, a revealing, and he sent chaos to distract, delay, and disturb your focus. The louder it got, the closer you came to the moment I had marked for your advancement. I never promised that you wouldn't encounter battle, but I did assure you that the opposition would never cancel my intention. I allowed certain things to rise up, not to destroy your confidence, but to expose how deeply rooted you are in me. The shaking didn't come to punish you. It came to expose the unshakable truth of who you are when you've surrendered everything else. And yes, I saw the tears. I felt the ache when it felt like everything was piling up at once. I noticed the way your heart would brace itself every time your phone rang, every time one problem followed another before you could catch your breath. But what the enemy didn't expect is that instead of cursing me in the chaos, you reached for me. You held on tighter. You prayed when you were weak. You praised when you didn't have answers. And that sound reached heaven. The enemy roared, but you worshipped. He sent confusion, but you chose peace. He tried to make you shut down, but you kept opening your heart to me. That's what preserved you. That's what drew my presence closer. You didn't fold. You fought with your faith. And now I'm responding with fulfillment. A weight of the battle is evidence that the enemy knew what was at stake. He never fights fair, and he never targets empty places. The area where the warfare was most intense is the exact space where my promise is about to land. He attacked your thoughts because clarity is coming. He disturbed your rest because I'm about to give you peace that settles deeper than sleep. He stirred confusion in your relationships because I'm preparing to send divine partnerships that carry kingdom assignment. He stirred storms around your calling because I'm commissioning something bigger than what you imagined. Don't misread the noise. The chaos didn't mean I was distant. It meant I was drawing near. The breakthrough I'm bringing is louder than every lie. It speaks with power that shatters the echo of discouragement. It enters with authority, and nothing the enemy tried can prevent its arrival. The opposition only made room for greater glory. The warfare only created desperation, and desperation gave me full access. That's why this shift will be unlike anything you've seen before. It will arrive quietly. It will come with the weight of heaven behind it, with doors that no one can close, with favor that no one can sabotage. The sound of breakthrough is not just in the result. It's in the authority you've gained along the way. You are not who you were at the beginning of this battle. You've grown. Even when you felt stuck, you've matured in silence. You've developed endurance without applause. And now, you'll carry what's next with wisdom that couldn't be learned in comfort. The resistance was fierce, but your breakthrough is fiercer. I've declared it over you, and my word is louder than every scheme, every attack, every voice that told you to quit. What you're stepping into now will silence every storm that tried to make you question if I was really with you. I never left. I was fighting with you the entire time. And now, the very atmosphere that tried to suffocate you will become the stage where I reveal my glory through your victory. I haven't been watching from afar or whispering from a distance. I have come closer than your breath, nearer than your thoughts, present in ways your senses haven't fully registered yet. You've imagined me just beyond reach, just out of sight, just past the horizon of your difficulty. But the truth is, I've stepped into your exact moment, your exact room, your exact silence, and I am face to face with you right now. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. You've looked for signs, but I am the sign. You've reached out for help, not realizing that the answer was already standing before you, eyes filled with compassion, arms open without hesitation. You've spoken to me like I was far, but child, I never left your side. I've simply been waiting for your heart to realize that I'm not just hovering somewhere in the heavens, I'm planted in your present. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to strive to get my attention. My full focus has been fixed on you, even when you thought I was silent. Every breath you've taken in sorrow, I've stood witness to. Every unspoken longing, I've carried in my heart as if it were my own. I've watched you push forward with trembling steps, not knowing I was walking directly in front of you, blocking what you couldn't see, clearing what would have harmed you, and preparing a path that didn't yet make sense. And now, I need you to stop searching for me in distant places. Look up. Look again. I'm right here. You can talk to me, not as if I'm somewhere far away in time or space, but as your nearest companion. Your tears have not been wasted. They fell in front of me. Your prayers have not vanished. They were breathed into my presence. I've heard every whisper, every fear you tried to hide, every doubt you thought disqualified you. And I never turned away. I never flinched. I never reconsidered my decision to remain close. My presence is not fragile. It is not conditional. It does not retreat when things become heavy or messy. I remain, steadfast, still, sure. While others came and went, I stayed. While life shifted and storms rose, I remained unmoved, because I am not like the rest. I am the one who promised to never leave, and I keep my word, not because you earned it, but because I love without limit. I know how hard it's been to feel me when everything felt cold. I know how deeply you've longed for tangible reassurance. So here I am. Not in a rush, not offering empty comfort, but standing in fullness, waiting to be acknowledged, not as a concept, but as the person who's been with you in every moment you thought you were alone. I didn't come just to observe. I came to reveal, to encounter, to speak life into the very places that felt unreachable. My eyes are locked on yours now. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to recite the perfect words. Just recognize me. Just respond. Because everything you've asked for, peace, strength, clarity, direction, it's not stored in some distant promise. It's wrapped in my presence, and my presence is here. I didn't come for a brief visit. I came to dwell, to make my home not just in your environment, but in the deepest parts of who you are. I'm not stepping in and out based on your emotions. I'm planted like an anchor, holding you steady when everything else feels like it's slipping away. And now, as you read this, feel the weight of that reality. I am standing right here, in front of you, ready to walk you forward into everything I've already secured. I'm not going anywhere, and I won't let you miss what's next. Awaiting didn't mean I forgot you. The closed doors didn't mean I rejected you. The pauses that stretched beyond your expectations were not signs that I changed my mind about you. They were signs that I was working on things far deeper than what your natural eyes could perceive. You asked me why it took so long, why others seemed to move forward while you stayed in place. You looked at your progress and compared it to timelines around you, wondering if somehow you missed your moment or failed a hidden test. But listen closely. The time I took wasn't a punishment. It was preparation. I wasn't withholding out of anger. I was building out of mercy. If I had released what you were asking for when you first prayed, it would have crumbled under the weight of unmet readiness. Not because you were incapable, but because I love you too much to allow you to walk into something unguarded. I protect what I promise. I don't deliver unfinished blessings. I deliver completed works. And that means sometimes I have to slow things down so I can strengthen what will carry you in the next place. You thought I was silent, but I was speaking in ways that required stillness to discern. I was talking through delays, through interruptions, through redirections that didn't feel holy but were absolutely sacred. I was working in the waiting room, refining your discernment, maturing your perception, stretching your inner stamina. You weren't standing still. You were being equipped without realizing it. And now, I'm revealing why the delay mattered. I'm showing you that every pause was a layer of protection. Every not yet was me keeping you from stepping into something unripe. I've seen what you can't, the traps, the timing, the environments, the people. I saw how releasing you too early would have cost more than you could afford to lose. And so I waited. I held the answer back until the foundation was strong enough to handle the weight of what's about to arrive. I didn't change my mind about you. I changed the conditions around you to favor what's coming. I changed you too. You've been softened in the areas that were once rigid. You've learned to hear me in the silence. You've learned how to sit in places that once made you anxious. That kind of growth cannot be rushed. I don't just give you the promise. I shape you into someone who can hold it without fear. That's why the delay happened. Because the blessing isn't meant to crush you. It's meant to launch you. And now, the delay has completed its purpose. You're about to see the pieces move quickly. Doors will swing open with such grace that you'll realize they were never locked. They were just timed. People will show up who were always meant to walk with you. They were just being prepared. Opportunities will align that once felt far away. They were just waiting for your spirit to be ready. Everything is shifting, not because you forced it, but because you waited with open hands. And I need you to carry this truth into what's coming. You weren't late. You weren't forgotten. You were being preserved. You were being trusted with a timeline I personally orchestrated. And now, as I begin to release what's been held back, you'll walk with confidence, not because everything makes sense, but because you finally know that my pace was perfect all along. You'll see that what looked like a delay was actually divine timing wrapped in disguise. And when you look back, you'll no longer grieve the waiting, you will praise me for it. Because you will see what I was doing the entire time, loving you enough to take my time. You assumed that quiet meant absence, that the stillness meant I wasn't moving, that because you couldn't hear me the way you used to, I must have stepped away. But my job felt like silence was actually sacred construction. I was working in dimensions beyond your current comprehension, crafting outcomes that couldn't be revealed prematurely. I wasn't ignoring you. I was protecting what I was building. I wasn't withholding answers to confuse you. I was preparing something so extraordinary that words would have fallen short had I tried to explain it ahead of time. I don't speak just to fill the space. I speak when you're ready to carry what I say. And during that time when everything in your life felt paused, I was doing more than you could possibly imagine, not in front of you but around you, under you, behind you, and within you. I had to quiet your environment so I can strengthen your roots. You didn't see it, but I was stretching your depth, increasing your capacity to handle what's coming. I was shifting the ground beneath your feet to make sure that when you stepped forward again, you would be unshakable. You weren't abandoned. You were being transformed. My silence isn't neglect. It's strategy. You were looking for me in the thunder, but I was speaking through stillness. You were expecting me in the rush, but I came wrapped in rest. I had to silence the noise around you so that when I move, you'd be able to recognize the sound of destiny drawing near. I needed you to rely on what you knew of me, not just what you could feel in the moment. That's where real trust grows, not when the answers are loud, but when your spirit remains steady in the hush. And while you sat in rooms wondering if anything was happening, heaven was in motion. I was dispatching instructions to people whose names you've never heard, aligning resources you haven't seen yet, making ways in places you haven't entered. I was answering prayers before you knew how to form the words. I wasn't punishing you with silence. I was wrapping the next season in precision. What's coming didn't come cheaply. It was paid for with every moment you chose to believe when it would have been easier to walk away. Those days when you sat in quiet worship, when you whispered your surrender even through tears, when you thanked me without seeing results, those became the very foundation under what I was constructing. The silence created space for something holy. And now, the veil is lifting. What I've been preparing is about to come into view, not in fragments but in fullness. The fulfillment will be so specific, so intentional, that you'll understand why I couldn't rush it. You'll see how every pause had a purpose. You'll realize the beauty of what I was doing while you waited. I've not been still. I've not been distant. I've been orchestrating something that no eye has seen and no ear has heard, because it was made for you. Custom crafted, divinely measured, perfectly timed. The silence wasn't empty. It was pregnant with breakthrough. And now, it's time to deliver what was growing in hiddenness. You will not be disappointed by what emerges. What I've been preparing is weighty, lasting, and complete. And you'll look back on the quiet seasons and realize they were not punishment. They were planting. And now comes the bloom. You cried in front of doors that didn't open. You knocked on opportunities that remained quiet. You stood in front of certain paths that seemed so right, so timely, so full of promise, and when they refused to make room for you, you questioned everything. You wondered if you had done something wrong, missed a cue, ignored a whisper, misread a sign. But I need you to hear me clearly now. Those rejections were not failures. They were safeguards. What you perceived as a no was actually my shield. You saw possibility, I saw the cost. You saw potential, I saw what was hidden behind the surface. I wasn't punishing you by withholding. I was guarding your destiny from entanglements that looked like blessings but carried weight you weren't called to bear. There were places you tried to enter that would have drained your spirit, silenced your gifts, confused your direction. So I blocked it. Not because you weren't good enough, but because you were too valuable to place in environments that didn't honor your calling. I watched as you stood there, hands open, heart vulnerable, waiting for access. And when nothing moved, when nothing shifted, you felt overlooked. But the truth is, I was standing beside you the entire time, redirecting you gently, even as you grieved what didn't make sense. You don't know what I protected you from. You couldn't see the motives behind the smiles. You didn't hear the conversations that would have wounded you. You didn't realize how quickly compromise would have seeped into places that seemed secure. I saw it all. Every hidden trap. Every masked intention. Every spiritual weight disguised as opportunity. And I made the decision to reroute you before it could attach itself to your identity. That door you begged me to open wasn't your destination. It was a detour meant to delay what I actually ordained. You may have thought it was the best thing for you at the time, but I see eternally. I measure outcomes generations ahead, and I chose what would preserve your longevity, not just your short-term satisfaction. What you called rejection, I called mercy. What you called loss, I called strategy. What you called silence, I called intervention. And even though it hurt, even though it felt like I was quiet during your most desperate moments, I was actually closer than ever, whispering peace, routing your steps, preparing something far better than what you were reaching for. I never ignored your prayers. I just answered, them differently. I gave you what you needed, not always what you wanted. Because I know your calling. I know your future. I know what you were born to build. And I will let temporary emotions write eternal assignments. The doors I close are just as sacred as the ones I open. And now, I want to give you new eyes. Eyes that can look back without bitterness. Eyes that see my fingerprints in the very places you once blamed me. You didn't fail. You were routed. You weren't rejected. You were rescued. And soon, when you walk through the doors I've prepared for you, the ones that open with peace, the ones that fit without force, the ones that align with what I planted in your soul, you'll understand why I had to keep you from anything less. You'll thank me for the shut doors. You'll worship not just for what I gave, but for what I didn't allow. You'll realize the divine protection that wrapped itself in unanswered requests. And you will stand in rooms built for you, knowing that every no was leading you to the yes that changes everything. I saw what you endured when no one applauded. I witnessed the pressure that tried to break your resolve. There were seasons where you felt stretched beyond your capacity, pushed to limits you didn't think you could survive, and yet you remained. Quietly, faithfully, honestly. The testing wasn't to harm you. It was to reveal what was already inside you. There was strength in you that only the fire could bring forth. There was gold hidden beneath the surface of your perseverance that only resistance could refine. You kept showing up when the answers did. You kept worshiping when the atmosphere was heavy. You stayed rooted even when your emotions begged you to run. That's not weakness, that's maturity. That's spiritual fortitude. That's what I was looking for. You've grown in places most can't see. You fought invisible battles, resisted temptations to compromise, and chosen integrity when no one else would have known the difference. You've passed through moments where silence felt like abandonment, and still you clung to me. That speaks louder in heaven than you realize. Every time you chose patience over panic, every time you gave me your frustration instead of blaming me for it, every time you whispered, "I trust you," while your heart was breaking, it was all part of the refining. And I kept record. Not because I'm measuring you against others, but because I was shaping you into someone who can carry what others can't. This wasn't about punishment. It was about preparation. You were never being disqualified. You were being refined. And now, you're stepping into the evidence that the test wasn't in vain. The rewards that follow aren't compensation for suffering. They are confirmation of your endurance. I don't give crowns to those who collapse when it gets hard. I place them on the heads of those who remain steady even when everything around them shakes. You were never meant to stay in testing forever. I use trials to sharpen, but I never leave you in the wilderness without an exit. The time of wandering is drawing to a close. The lessons have been absorbed. The oil that was pressed out of you in secret is now ready to be poured. And what I'm releasing next will be unmistakable, not because of its size or beauty, but because it will bear the scent of my approval. You'll know it's me, not because of how it looks, but because of how deeply your spirit recognizes its alignment. The doors that open now won't require you to prove yourself. They'll respond to the authority forged in your process. The rooms I place you in won't ask for your resume. They'll honor your resilience. The platforms I lead you to will not tempt your ego. They will reflect your surrender. You passed the test of hiddenness. You passed the test of delay. You passed the test of faith under fire. And now, what I'm bringing is not a reward for effort. It's the release of what was always yours, unlocked by endurance. The battle didn't make you weak. It gave you depth. It taught you how to hear me in whispers. It broke your dependence on recognition. It rooted your confidence in my presence, not in performance. And because of that, I can now trust you with more. More influence, more impact, more insight, not for status, but for stewardship. You won't misuse what's coming because the process purified your motives. You won't mishandle the blessing because the waiting taught you to treasure every small beginning. You won't chase approval because the furnace already burned away the need for it. I've tested your heart and found it ready. The fruit is coming. The shift is beginning. And it will be undeniable that you didn't just survive the fire. You came out carrying glory. I never sent hardship to punish you. That was never my heart. The ache, the loss, the stretching that seemed unbearable at times, it wasn't designed to break you, but to align you. You assumed the struggle meant you were being corrected for something you did wrong. But what if I told you that the struggle was evidence that I was steering you into something incredibly right? Pain isn't always the result of mistake. Sometimes, it's the sign of divine realignment. There were things inside of you that couldn't be accessed until the pressure revealed them. Not because you were stubborn, but because destiny often hides its deepest treasures behind the veil of adversity. You didn't fail me. You were being shifted, trained, elevated, even when it felt like you were falling apart. There were moments where the disappointment stung so deeply that you questioned everything, even me. I wasn't offended by your questions. I stayed beside you while you wept. I held you when you had no strength left to stand. And even though it felt like your world was unraveling, what was actually happening was this: I was removing what couldn't come with you. I was stripping away the layers that kept you attached to lesser versions of your calling. I was carving out space in your spirit for what was too heavy to coexist with cluttered hearts. You prayed for greater. I responded by refining. And yes, it hurt. Yes, it caused you. But I never wasted a single tear. I never turned away when you collapsed. I never sat back with indifference while you wrestled in the dark. I was there. I was closer than your own breath. And now that the shaking has slowed, now that the dust is beginning to settle, I want you to see the truth. You are not wounded. Your position. The pain pushed you into a posture of listening you never had before. It sobered your decisions. It forced you to let go of distractions you thought you needed. It made you hunger for me in a way that surface-level ease never could. You learned to walk with me through the storm, not just praise me in sunshine. You discovered me in silence, not just in song. And now, because of what you endured, you're standing in a space you never could have arrived at without going through what you did. That's not punishment. That's precision. That's purpose. That's promise being forged under pressure. There's an authority resting on you now that wasn't there before. A sensitivity. A discernment. A grace. And that grace didn't fall from the sky. It came from the pressing. That's why I had to walk you through it, not around it. Because what I'm about to entrust to you next could not be held with untested hands. It required someone who understands the cost of compassion. Someone who can recognize the brokenness in others because they've seen their own. Someone who doesn't just preach healing, but carries it because they needed it first. You are that person now. Not wounded. Wise. Not bitter, burning with clarity. Not defeated, but refined by the fire that should have consumed you, yet only brought you closer to me. So don't look back in shame. Don't revisit those memories with regret. See them for what they truly were, moments I used to move you into alignment. Pain was never the end of your story, it was the passageway. And from this point forward, you'll walk differently. Not limping but leading. Not questioning but discerning. Not surviving but building. You are no longer defined by what hurt you. You are marked by the one who healed you in it. What looked like a setback, what felt like unnecessary delay, what seemed like a confusing turn off the path you expected, it wasn't random. It was intentional. While you mourned the route that didn't make sense, I was rejoicing because you had just been routed away from something designed to drain you. There was danger ahead you didn't see. Conversations that would have derailed your clarity. People who looked harmless but carried assignment, breaking distractions. Moments that would have left deep fractures in your trust. I blocked them not with storms, but with subtle turns, closed opportunities, prolonged transitions, unexpected interruptions. You didn't know that the scenery shift was me safeguarding the promise by shielding the carrier, you. I will always protect the one I've called, even when protection looks like redirection. And that's what the deeder was. Not punishment, but preservation. Not denial, but divine shielding. You thought the long way meant you'd been forgotten, but the longer way was my answer to prayers you didn't even know how to pray. I led you away from the crowd not because you were unworthy, but because I had to preserve what was pure in you. I had to make sure your identity wouldn't be contaminated by the environments you were never meant to blend into. You wanted access, but I gave you safety. You asked for speed, but I gave you separation. Because what you carry cannot survive in every climate. And I wasn't just hiding you from harm, I was also hiding you for revelation. I've been forming something in you that needed privacy, needed distance, needed time. The cocoon never looks glamorous, but it's where transformation takes place. The Dieter gave me the room to build without outside influence, where your gifts were refined in silence, where your faith learned to stand without needing applause. You thought you lost momentum, but what you gained in that space was depth, endurance, and clarity you didn't have before. And now that the hiding is ending, you're going to see why I chose the long way. What's ahead would have devoured the version of you from before. But now you are ready. Now you can recognize counterfeit peace. Now you can feel when something carries my breath and when it doesn't. Now you won't enter rooms needing validation, because you already encountered my voice in the valley. And now that you know who you are without platforms, you will never again be enslaved to them. I didn't just preserve your destiny, I preserve your discernment. You will no longer be swayed by glitter that masks chaos. You will no longer be tempted to chase what looks good when you've learned how to wait for what's anointed. I rerouted your steps not to confuse you, but to confirm you. You're not the same as before. You don't speak the same. You don't move the same. The detour became the place of definition, where you were emptied of fear, filled with vision, and forged in the quiet. And now, when you enter what's next, it will not look like survival. It will look like mastery. I've already peace. That's what I was growing in you all along. You're not late, you were hidden. And now, I'm unveiling you with protection still wrapped around your purpose. This next season won't just be about arrival, it'll be about the wisdom you carry from what I led you through. Because you didn't force your way through the wrong doors, you'll walk through the right ones without striving. Because you trusted me when it felt senseless, you'll now reap what only obedience can unlock. And when people ask how you got here, you'll smile, not with pride, but with reverence, because you'll know the detour was the safest place I ever put you. You've walked through a season where clarity was limited, where understanding came in fragments, and where it seemed like you were moving beneath a veil, not because you were unworthy, but because I was shielding something sacred. There were truths about who you are, what you carry, and what I've appointed you to become that had to be developed in quietness. I don't reveal prematurely what I'm still refining. But now, the process has reached fullness. What I once kept concealed is now being uncovered. The grace that was growing in the background is ready to be seen. The identity I've been restoring within you is about to shine through every action, every step, every assignment I place in your hands. You didn't miss it. You didn't fall behind. You were being prepared beneath divine protection. While others raced ahead, I was fortifying you, not for a moment, but for legacy. And now, the time has come to unveil what's been forming in silence. I'm removing the layers that once shielded you, not because they were bad, but because they served their purpose. What was once hidden for preservation is now ready for presentation. This unveiling isn't about spectacle, it's about spiritual maturity. You're not emerging to impress. You're emerging to fulfill. I've tested your humility, your intentions, your resilience. I've taught you how to hear me when the crowd was gone. I've shown you how to depend on my presence when nothing else made sense. And now, I'm bringing you forward, not to prove yourself, but to walk in what I've always known you were capable of. You'll find yourself recognized in places where you were once invisible, not because you chased visibility, but because I'm shining light on what I've already approved. I've watched how you didn't manipulate your way into rooms. I saw how you honored others even when you were overlooked. I witnessed the patience you cultivated when you were tempted to rush. All of it counted. Every unseen act of faith. Every hidden seed of obedience. I've kept record, and I've multiplied it. And now I'm sending harvest. But the harvest won't just be fruit, it'll be exposure. And this exposure isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. Because I've cleansed your motives, you won't be consumed by praise. Because I've stripped away the need to perform, you won't be trapped by expectation. Because I've healed the areas where rejection tried to root, you'll no longer crave approval to feel valid. You're stepping into spaces where your name will be mentioned, but it will not be the applause that sustains you. It will be the intimacy we've built in the hidden years. That's what will preserve you. That's what will keep your heart soft while you walk through wide gates. The unveiling I'm doing is not just about what's ahead of you. It's about what's been done inside of you. This is why you couldn't give up, even when you wanted to. This is why I held you still when you begged me to release you early. I wasn't withholding. I was protecting the weight of your assignment. And now, as I begin to draw back the curtain, I need you to walk humbly but confidently. You are not being exposed. You are being entrusted. I'm revealing the real you, the healed you, the whole you, the one I've been shaping when no one else could see. I'm bringing you into alignment with places, people, and platforms that match what's been cultivated in secret. No longer will you need to explain yourself. The fruit will speak. The oil will testify. The clarity in your spirit will guide you. And I will walk with you, just as I did in the hidden place. Because even as you become visible to others, my covering remains, not to keep you out of sight, but to keep you in my shadow. That's where you'll thrive. That's where you will remain safe. And that's how the revealing will become revival. You've grieved over what slipped through your hands, mourned dreams that seemed to dissolve without explanation, and questioned if the sacrifices were worth the silence. You've carried quiet sorrow over relationships that faded, opportunities that dissolved, and seasons that ended without closure. But I want you to look again. Not with the same tired eyes that watched things fall apart, but with renewed vision, because what appeared gone was never beyond my reach. Nothing you surrendered in faith has been buried in vain. What you placed on the altar didn't disappear. It entered into a cycle of multiplication. The pain convinced you that what left was final, but I was never subtracting. I was making space. I wasn't taking from you. I was positioning you to receive more than what you originally asked for. The soil of obedience always grows back more than it gives up. You thought it was over, but I was only beginning the reordering. I've seen your heart broken in silence over things you love deeply, things you let go of because you believed I asked you to. I never ignored that pain. I held every shattered hope in my hands and whispered to it, "Live again." You didn't know that your willingness to release would become the very key to recovery. When you trusted me with empty hands, you proved that I could fill them again without fear. That's why now, in this hour, I'm returning what you thought had passed you by, but not as it was. I'm returning it transformed, enlarged, renewed, revived. What's coming back won't resemble what left, because I never recycle. I restore. I never bring back what was broken in the same form. I remake it better, stronger, and more aligned with who you've become. What once drained you will now refresh you. What once hurt you will now heal others through you. I'm resurrecting what was surrendered, not for nostalgia, but for destiny. Some of what's coming will look familiar, but it won't feel the same. It's not because you're going backward. It's because I've redeemed the seed. I've taken what was planted in tears and returned it in joy. I've taken what was offered with trembling hands and given it back with divine favor. And you'll know it's me, not because of the magnitude, but because of the peace it brings. You'll see the difference. What once made you anxious will now anchor you. What once made you strive will now flow freely. What once made you feel overlooked will now highlight your identity in me. I'm not just replacing, I'm exceeding. The years you thought were lost run wasted. The detour you thought ruined your path were actually extensions of grace. The time you thought had expired is now being redeemed. And you'll watch me do it not in secret, but in ways so evident that even those who thought your story was finished will witness what I've resurrected. I am the God of restoration, not partial, not delayed, but full and right on time. And I don't just give things back, I enhance them. I fill the gaps with glory. I wrap what I return in purpose. And I'm doing it now. You'll begin to see signs, feel nudges, receive confirmations that what's on its way is not random. It's rooted in everything you laid down in trust. Your yes activated this multiplication. Your obedience invited this return. And as it unfolds, don't shrink. Don't apologize. Don't second-guess whether you're allowed to receive it. This is not reward. It's fulfillment. This is not a favor for performance. It's the outcome of alignment. You waited. You believe. You surrendered. And now, you'll watch me bring it back, not piece by piece, but pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. Open your hands. What you thought was gone forever is returning, refined by fire, shaped by grace, and stamped with my name. Time, it's what you've mourned the most. The moments you can't get back. The chapters you wish you could rewrite. The seasons where you felt stuck, broken, wandering, disconnected from purpose. You looked over your shoulder and sighed in silence, thinking, if only I had known then what I know now. You've labeled entire portions of your life as lost, buried under regret, pain, or simply the feeling that nothing meaningful came from them. But I need you to see it through my eyes. I don't just move you forward. I redeem what's behind you. I'm not limited by years. I'm not confined by clocks or calendars. I'm the one who steps into the ruins of what once was and breathes purpose into what looked forgotten. I'm the one who gathers the broken timelines, the fractured memories, the unfinished stories, and turns them into beauty that cannot be denied. I haven't discarded those years. I've stored them. Every moment you thought slipped through your fingers, I caught. Every effort that seemed unordered, I recorded. Every prayer you whispered in exhaustion, I held close. You haven't lived 1 second outside my awareness. You assumed time was working against you. But child, I've been working inside time for you. I've gone back to where you lost confidence. I've revisited where your heart was wounded. I've walked through the corridors of your past, not to remind you of pain, but to reclaim what was left behind. Restoration, with me, isn't just about the future. It's about redemption that reaches backward and rewrites the legacy of the very places you thought would define your failure. You've said that was a wasted season. But I say, no, it was soil. Ground where roots were quietly growing even when you couldn't see the surface. Ground where faith was being planted, even as disappointment tried to suffocate it. And now, I am watering those unseen roots. I'm bringing forth harvest from seasons that appeared fruitless. What looked dormant was never dead. I was simply waiting for the right time to bring forth what you sowed in tears. I never forget what you surrendered in trust. I never overlook what you gave when no one was watching. The missed opportunities, the broken timelines, the detours, the long nights where progress felt impossible. I'm reclaiming it all. And what's more, I'm not giving it back as it was. I'm multiplying it. I'm breathing new life into what the enemy tried to label as failure. I'm redeeming connections, reigniting dreams, restoring strength, and reestablishing your rhythm. What once haunted you will now fuel you. What once felt like a setback will become the very testimony that carries healing to others. You won't have to explain how I did it. The fruit will speak for itself. The beauty will speak louder than the ashes. I know how to make up for lost time in ways that don't make sense to man. In a single moment, I can accelerate growth, launch purpose, restore joy, and rebuild trust. You don't have to rush to make up what you think you lost. Just rest in me and watch what I do. You've carried disappointment like a second skin, but I'm removing it now. You've worn shame like a quiet burden, but I'm lifting it off you. And I'm placing something new in your spirit. The understanding that nothing hath been wasted. Not the pain. Not the silence. Not the delay. All of it has been woven into a restoration that goes deeper than repair. It redefines you. I'm giving back the years. The laughter. The peace. The passion. The memento. The purpose. And when it begins to unfold, you'll recognize my signature all over it. Not rushed. Not forced, but divinely timed, beautifully full, and unmistakably redemptive. I make all things new, and that includes what you thought had passed you by. It wasn't stagnation. It wasn't failure. It wasn't me withholding. It was strategy, quiet, hidden, careful reordering of the details you didn't know needed shifting. You thought you were being left behind, forgotten while others advanced. But I was behind the scenes, realigning what was misaligned, untangling what would have hindered your next season, and repositioning people, plans, and places so that when it was time, everything would flow without resistance. What you perceived as waiting was me, delicately rewiring the foundation beneath your journey. You prayed for open doors, and I answered with construction zones. I didn't say no. I said not yet, because the path ahead had bends you couldn't anticipate and turns that required clarity you didn't yet have. I love you too much to allow you to step into something half-prepared. My desire is not just your arrival. It's your thriving once you get there. You didn't see how certain connections were out of alignment. You couldn't detect the distractions that were dressed as assignments. But I could. And so, in love, I intervene. I pause the process not to hold you back, but to put the right pieces in place. The relationships that fell away, the shifts in direction, the closed loops you did expect, I was in them. Not causing pain, but carving space. Not blocking dreams, but building depth. Rearrangement isn't punishment, it's promotion in disguise. It's me saying, you're almost there, let me get it just right. Because when you walk into what I've been preparing, it will be smooth where it would have been jagged, open where it once was locked, peaceful where it would have been chaotic. I had to pull certain things apart so I could place you into a version of the promise that would last. A shortcut would have bypassed the necessary breaking and rebuilding. But I don't do rushed work. I do perfect work, and that always takes time. Think back. Remember how certain things felt ready, and then suddenly unraveled. That wasn't sabotage. That was me removing what would have collapsed under pressure. Remember the doors that opened, then strangely shut again. That wasn't confusion. That was preservation. I allowed you to walk close enough to glimpse, but not step through, because what waited on the other side wasn't what it seemed. And now, if you pay attention, you'll see it. How people have shifted positions, how your own priorities have changed, how clarity has risen from what looked like chaos. The pattern wasn't broken. The pattern was being redesigned. And you, my beloved, were never off track. You were just being rerouted into the fullness of my plan, a plan not built on speed, but on significance. What I've done cannot be undone. What I've rearranged cannot be corrupted. You are about to witness the fruit of my careful orchestration, how one connection leads to another, how one yes aligns with a previous no, how one divine encounter completes a picture you didn't even know you were part of. This is what divine timing looks like. Unexpected moments that feel exactly right when they happen. That's what you're stepping into. No more confusion. No more questioning whether you missed your moment. The real moment is approaching, and it's going to unfold with the kind of grace that makes it undeniably me. You won't have to strive. You won't have to chase. What was held back is now moving forward, not because you forced it, but because you trusted me in the uncertainty. And I honor that. I reward those who stay close when everything feels unsettled. You did that. And now I'm lifting the veil. What was shifting in shadows is about to be revealed in light. The wait didn't steal anything from you. It positioned you to receive something better than you imagined. And you'll look back and see, the delay wasn't denial. It was divine rearrangement for something greater than you knew to ask for. There were seasons where it felt like everything paused, your progress, your plans, your purpose. While you kept showing up with a heart full of hope, doors stayed shut and voices around you grew quieter. You wondered if you were doing something wrong. But I want you to understand that silence was not a sign of neglect. It was a sound of construction. While your environment felt still, heaven was active. While you were hidden from view, I was laying the framework for what you would one day carry. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of unseen activity. I wasn't ignoring you. I was building on your behalf. Quietly, deliberately, I was preparing rooms you'd never even thought to ask for. Conversations were happening about you that you didn't hear. Your name was whispered in places where your feet had not yet entered. I was orchestrating favor while you were learning how to worship with no spotlight. What looked like a delay was actually foundation being poured beneath future assignments. I kept you grounded when your heart was tempted to chase visibility. I taught you how to listen when there was no echo. And now that the time is right, I'm opening access to spaces that were formed in response to your obedience in the hidden place. You didn't need a platform to be seen by me. You didn't need applause to prove you were faithful. You were seen in the stillness, heard in the waiting, measured not by how loud you could declare your calling, but by how consistently you leaned into me when you had no answers. And now, the fruit of that devotion is manifesting. The rooms you're about to enter were not earned by striving. They were unlocked by surrender. The influence coming your way is not attached to manipulation or self-promotion. It's attached to the purity I developed in you when no one was watching. This is how I move. I build away from noise. I prepare places for those who have allowed me to shape them in silence. I elevate those who didn't rush the process. And you have allowed me to do deep work. You have yielded, even when it felt like everything was going in circles. You have prayed in empty spaces and trusted when you had more questions than confirmations. Now watch. Watch how quickly things begin to shift. Watch how the rooms open without you needing to force them. Watch how people recognize the oil on your life without you needing to announce it. You're walking into divine appointments that were scheduled before you were born. The people you will impact have already been prepared. The assignments you will carry have already been shaped to fit you perfectly. What was once a season of silence is about to become a season of undeniable release. Don't shrink back. Don't disqualify yourself. I didn't build these rooms for who you used to be. I built them for who you've become through every valley, every delay, every hard-earned moment of trust. These rooms were not rushed. They were carved by my hand. They carry the atmosphere of my presence, and I am leading you into them, not just to enter but to establish. You're not visiting. You're occupying. You're not sampling. You're stewarding. I am giving you territory, influence, and voice, not for fame, but for kingdom purpose. Everything you learned in the silence is now your strength. Every tear you sowed in the shadows is now your testimony. Every time you remained faithful when you didn't understand why, it's now returning in the form of divine access. Walk forward with confidence. I am the one who built these spaces, and you are the one I built them for. You've asked me to move. You've pleaded for clarity, for breakthrough, for evidence that what you've been waiting for is finally unfolding. And now, I'm giving you the next step, not to test you, but to answer what you've cried for in secret. It won't always make sense in the moment, and it may not align with the plan you pictured. But this instruction carries weight. It carries timing. It carries keys. This isn't just a suggestion. It's a doorway. The very thing you've been asking me to release is tied to your response to what I'm speaking now. I've heard every plea, every whispered request, every groaning too deep for words. And I've responded, not just with comfort, but with direction. Because comfort alone doesn't build the future. Erection does. And this instruction, though it may seem small or insignificant at first, is heaven's answer in disguise. I didn't forget your requests. I'm inviting you to participate in their fulfillment. I've set the stage, and now I'm placing the next move in your hands. Will you trust me even when the answer comes wrapped in unexpected packaging? Will you obey even when it feels inconvenient or uncomfortable? I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm inviting you deeper. Because you're ready now. You've matured in the waiting. You've grown in discernment. And this next step isn't for your testing, it's for your release. Many ask for miracles, but few recognize the instruction that makes space for them. You've been faithful. You've been still. But now I'm asking for motion, not random motion, but prophetic movement in alignment with my voice. And I won't shout to convince you. I'm speaking clearly, quietly, the same way I've always spoken to those I trust. The next instruction may come through stillness, or through a door I nudge you toward, or through a conviction that won't leave you alone. Don't resist it. I'm not sending confusion. I'm revealing the map. And this map won't show you every turn, but it will show you the next step. That's how I lead, one obedient moment at a time. You've learned how to wait. Now I'm teaching you how to respond. Not react. Respond. You don't need full understanding to move. You only need full surrender. Remember how I called others before you. They didn't see the whole plan, but they trusted the one who held it. That's where I'm bringing you. The instruction I'm placing before you now is strategic. It may seem simple, but it's sacred. It may look small, but it carries the weight of promise. And it will unlock rooms that remain sealed because you were waiting for something bigger, louder, clearer. But all along, I was waiting for your yes. I don't require perfection. I'm not expecting flawless execution. I'm asking for agreement. I'm asking for your willingness to move even when the outcome isn't visible. I've placed angels on assignment around what's connected to this next step. You don't see them yet, but they are moving as you move. What I've placed in your spirit, that repeated urge, that divine nudge, that idea that won't leave, follow it. Test it against my peace, and then act. Because this isn't just a door, it's a turning point. You've lingered long enough at the edge. You've wondered when things would change. And now I'm showing you how. Through simple obedience to divine instruction. I've made a habit of using unlikely things to produce unimaginable results. This time is no different. Don't second-guess yourself out of the breakthrough you asked me to send. The instruction is clear. Your spirit knows it. Your peace confirms it. Now step. I've already gone ahead of you. I'm waiting on the other side. What comes next is connected to the obedience you choose now. This is how prayers turn into reality, not by force but by alignment. That uneasy tension in your spirit, the restlessness that keeps rising even when everything around you appears stable, don't misread it. That isn't chaos. It's transition. It's the vibration of heaven pressing up against what has become too familiar. The shift you're sensing is not there to push you into panic, but to pull you into purpose. You've grown beyond where you were. And now your environment is beginning to feel tight, not because something is wrong, but because something greater is trying to be born. What once satisfied you now feels insufficient, not because you're ungrateful, but because I've enlarged your capacity. I've stretched the walls of your spirit. I've expanded your vision. And where you are can no longer contain what I've placed inside you. That's why it feels like you don't fit anymore. That's why comfort has begun to taste stale. You're not losing your way. You're being led forward. You're not falling apart. You're being released from what no longer matches the magnitude of what I've placed upon your life. This discomfort is the sound of assignment calling louder than routine. It's your spirit standing at the doorway of something new, even while your flesh still clings to the safety of the known. But I didn't call you to survive in safe spaces. I called you to walk with boldness into territory that stretches you. That sacred discomfort is how you know I'm near. because I never let my children stay in places that no longer serve their purpose. I disrupt what's predictable to make room for what's powerful. That ache inside you isn't fear. It's awareness. It's the recognition that something divine is approaching. It's the pressing of promise against the boundaries of where you've been. And I need you to stop running from it. Stop trying to quiet what I've allowed to stir you. You've prayed for me to move. This is what it looks like when I answer. I shake what can't stay. I stir what needs to be seen. I disturb patterns that are too small for your future. I remove supports that are no longer aligned with your next level. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it feels like you're losing your balance. But in reality, I'm shifting your footing from what's temporary to what's eternal. I'm moving you out of cycles into clarity. I'm repositioning you, not to punish but to promote. You've gotten used to certain rhythms, habits, patterns, routines that helped you function before. But I'm calling you into a higher function now, one that requires different posture, deeper trust, and sharper discernment. The discomfort is the first indicator that growth is near. I'm not letting you settle. I love you too much to let you plateau. There's more, not just more for you, but more through you. There are lives waiting on the other side of your obedience. There are doors that won't open until you let go of what's familiar and step fully into the unknown where I've already gone ahead of you. So don't suppress the feeling. Don't medicate it with distraction. Don't numb it with busyness. Bring it to me. Let me show you what it's pointing to. Let me guide you through the shift. Let me teach you how to breathe through the birthing of this next phase. You're not broken. You're becoming. You're not stuck. You're shedding what can't follow. And even if the people around you don't understand, even if they question your movement, know this. I am the one calling you forward. This is between you and me. No one else heard what I whispered to you in the stillness. No one else knows the weight of what I've placed inside you. So trust the discomfort. It's not here to scare you. It's here to awaken you. You're not in danger. You're in the doorway. And what waits beyond it carries more than you've dared to expect. Stop measuring yourself by what others have built. Stop comparing your path to timelines that were never meant to mirror yours. You've believed the lie that you're late, that you missed something, that you took too long to obey, that you somehow fumbled what I placed inside of you. But I don't operate by the standards of man. My schedule is not controlled by clocks. I work according to the rhythm of eternity, and I weave your story with strands of purpose far deeper than human expectation. What looks like delay to you is often just divine layering, adding depth, adding preparation, adding clarity for what's about to be revealed. You've questioned me in the stillness. You've wondered why you're not further by now. You've asked, did I fall behind? But what if I told you that you're right on time? Not for a small moment, but for something explosive. Not for survival, but for the sudden release of what's been growing in silence for years. I don't bring things forth half-baked. I don't deliver prematurely. And what I've been developing in you hasn't been growing slowly. It's been gaining pressure, building momentum, becoming too heavy to contain. That tension you felt, the weight, the stir, the ache that says something's about to happen, it's real. That's not your imagination. It's my confirmation. You are standing at the tipping point of eruption, a holy eruption, a breakthrough that won't trickle in but will burst forward. All the seeds you've sown, the tears you've cried, the obedience you've quietly walked in, it's all converging. I've not ignored your labor. I've not forgotten the nights you gave me your yes with trembling hands. And now, I'm declaring over you, it's time. Time for manifestation. Time for overflow. Time for things to happen in sudden succession that could not happen before because they needed this precise hour. I have protected this moment by holding it back until all the right alignments were in place. Within you, round you, and ahead of you. This eruption won't be chaotic. It'll be orchestrated. It won't confuse, it'll confirm. It won't distract, it'll define. There will be clarity in the acceleration, peace in the expansion, and wisdom to sustain what begins to unfold. What took years to prepare will manifest in days. But don't be afraid. You are not unprepared. What I've deposited in you has been shaped through fire, silence, stretching, and pruning. You didn't miss the window. You didn't fall behind. You were in training. And now that training will speak for itself. I will cause things to happen quickly, but you will not be overwhelmed, because I have already gone before you. The eruption is not just external, it's internal. Your courage is rising. Your voice is strengthening. Your vision is sharpening. You are awakening to the magnitude of who I've called you to be. You're not stepping into borrowed space. You're walking into rooms I built with your name written into the walls. You don't need to compete. You don't need to chase. What's meant for you is coming to you because it recognizes your preparation. You are not the same person who started this journey. You are deeper. You are grounded. You are refined. And now you're ready to carry what's about to be released. It's not a random shift. It's a divine eruption. The pressure didn't break you. It launched you. And what's bursting forth is not just a blessing. It's a movement. You'll know it's me, because the speed won't feel rushed. The doors won't feel forced. The connections won't feel strained. Everything will click, not because you finally figured it out, but because I've declared, now is the moment. Don't resist the surge. Flow with it. Let it carry you into rooms that only obedience can unlock. You're not late. You're right on time for everything I prepared. And it starts now. Amen.